Today's topic is about the career of a firefighter. Our guest today is from the City of Toronto Fire Department, where he has had extensive experience in both the rescue squad and with the Fire Prevention Information Office. Stay tuned for careers.
I went to university. I was involved in a co-op program that involved going to businesses and to school at the same time. I worked for a management consulting firm, and I just stayed on with that firm after graduating from school.
Mm-hmm. Why did you decide to be a firefighter?
I think I just decided that a 9-to-5 job wasn't for me. You know, regular hours, commuting back and forth, you know, working behind a desk with a pencil. I wanted something more challenging, exciting, a little more dangerous.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think that you have achieved your goal as far as danger is concerned?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Where did you start when you decided to become a firefighter?
Oh, you start, the process involves, like, okay, what you do, you fill out an application form is the first step, and it gets sent to the City of Toronto Management Services Department, and there they score it, and they pick out the top scores to write an aptitude test at the Toronto Fire Academy. And from there, again, they take the top marks, and you go and they give you...
What kind of aptitude test do you have to write?
It's just a general aptitude test. It's nothing you can really study for. They'll give you situations where they have a picture, a diagram, and they'll tell you the fire is located in this corner, and you're coming from this station. They'll give you different road conditions, like one-way streets, you know, the time of day and that, and you have to determine the quickest way to, you know...
Use your own judgment.
Basically, a lot of it is, or they'll show you different gears, and it's mechanical aptitude. And
I guess they want to see whether or not you have any common sense.
Basically, yeah. Just the general aptitude for the job.
Okay. So once you do that test, then what's the next step?
Then you go to the Fire Academy, and they test you for your physical tests, and they give you eye tests, and they test you for stress, the medical tests, and they test your endurance, your strength, and your agility. And from there you go to an interview process, and then after that they'll let you know when you go down to the Fire Academy for basic training.
They'll let you know whether or not you're hired?
Oh, after the interview they let you know, yeah.
Right. So you basically go through one interview plus a lot of physical types of tests.
A lot of tests, yeah.
And some psychological tests?
Not really psychological tests as such. Like you don't sit down and you fill out a psychological profile, that kind of thing.
So what does the fire department look for in a candidate that's interested in having firefighting as a job?
They're looking for someone who's physically fit, strong enough to do the job. They're looking for their eyesight. They're looking for, you know, common sense. Basically, you know, you have to have a good driving record, that kind of thing. You have to be legally able to work in Canada.
Do you have to have a driving license to get the job?
You have to have a driving license to get a job and a good driving record.
Oh.
And then you go through, they have driver training courses, and you'll eventually get a Class D driver's license.
So every firefighter is potentially also the driver?
Yes, yes. You switch jobs all the time. On the truck, anybody can drive.
I see. Okay. So the firefighting department, rather the fire department, is looking for people with, I guess, a real backbone, a lot of guts in effect as well, eh?
Oh yeah, you need that, yeah. You can't be afraid to go into the building. Yeah.
How do they test that? I guess that must come under the psychological testing.
Oh, we have a test there where they put a mask on your face and they'll black it out, and they'll put you in like a small maze, and they'll fill it with furniture and pipes and things, and you'll crawl around and get yourself out and find and actually look for a doll inside, just to simulate what it'd be like inside a fire, whether you get claustrophobic or not.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
They try to cover it all in the testing. They'll test your fear of heights and your strength and your agility, everything.
So how many people wanted to become firefighters last year?
I think in Toronto last year, 1,400 people applied, and they hired 100.
Okay, that's a pretty small percentage.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's very competitive.
Okay. When they finally decide on that 100 people, all of those that get sent to the fire academy for training?
That's right. You start off at 6 weeks basic training at the fire academy, and then you go to a hall for another 4 or 5 months, and you go back to the academy for 1 week final assessment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. 6 weeks, it's quite a bit of training.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of classroom training, then they take you out to the fire ground, and they'll give you ladder training, pump operations, aerial operations. They give you driver training, they teach you first aid, CPR, basically everything you need.
A lot of hands-on training.
A lot of hands-on training. It's all mostly hands-on training.
Okay, okay. What kind of classroom courses are you taking?
Okay, they'll teach you hydraulics, how to work the pump. They'll give you like first aid, CPR. The doctor comes in, he talks to you about health problems related to the job. Fitness instructor comes in and talks to you. And again, they'll tell you pump operations, aerial operations, fire ground tactics, all that kind of.
So that whole process takes about 6 weeks then?
In the classroom. And I said, then you're assigned to a fire station, and you go through, you're actually on a truck, and you go out to fire calls at the same time continuing your training.
It's like an apprenticeship then?
Basically, yeah, that's what it's like, yeah.
Okay, and how long do you do that?
You do that for, I think it's 14, 15 weeks. And then I said, you go back to the fire academy for 1 week final assessment.
Okay. Wow, okay.
It's overall, it takes about 6 months for the training.
I see.
It's a pretty in-depth
And then
program.
during that period, are you in effect in a state of probation?
Yes. First part is a probationary firefighter, and that lasts for 6 months. And then you're a 4th class firefighter. And then you work up from there each year. Then you go to 3rd, 2nd, and 1st class.
Oh, okay, okay. So how long does it normally take to reach
About 4 years.
first class?
4 years.
Okay.
From the day you start.
And each year or each class, you have some additional responsibilities associated with you?
Oh yeah, and there'll be an evaluation after each different class to see whether or not you're able to go on to the next class.
I guess your salary goes up with each class as well.
Oh yes, it does, yeah.
What can you tell us about the salaries?
You start off now, I think the 88 contract about $29,000, and it goes up to a little more than $42,000 for a first class firefighter in Toronto.
Okay, great. Is there overtime pay or anything like that? Or
no, there isn't overtime pay. Say if you're caught at a fire, which is probably what you're curious about, the shift will come in, they'll relieve you on the scene if it's necessary, the scene of the fire.
the next shift?
Yeah, the next shift, and you'll go home and they'll take over where you left off. So there isn't paid overtime.
Okay. Is there any kind of a bonus associated with the level of danger that you're subjected to?
Any kind of danger pay? I think no.
No?
Everybody gets paid the same.
Okay, that's part of the job.
That's part of the job.
Okay, okay. What can you tell us, just for general information, for the viewers out there, what somebody should know in order to help prevent fires in their own home?
Well, first thing they should do is install a smoke detector, smoke alarm on each level of their home. That's very basic. They should plan a home escape plan with their families and practice it. And if they ever do have a fire, they have to remember the first thing is to get out quickly and safely, go to a neighbor's house, and call the fire department from there. Never go back in your home.
Have you found that a lot of people in the cases of actual fires are waiting around and trying to gather up their own belongings and precious valuables?
I imagine it's a thought for some people. They want to grab something before they go, but I think once they see a fire, they try and get out as quickly as possible.
It's not worth it.
No, it definitely isn't worth it. No. Fire spreads very quickly.
Okay. When someone calls the emergency number 911, basically what happens?
Okay, it goes to a central dispatcher, and in Toronto's case, it goes to the police. And once they determine your address, and it's a fire-related emergency, they'll transfer it to the Toronto Fire Department. And from there, we have our dispatchers who will dispatch the appropriate apparatus.
How long would that process take, let's say from the time that I were to call 911?
Just a couple minutes.
Before somebody was to arrive at
No, before the trucks were actually dispatched, and it takes an
Before.
average of about 3 minutes to get a truck to the scene.
Is that right?
It's
In the
very
Toronto
quick.
area?
In the city of Toronto.
How many fire halls are there?
There's
around?
27 in Toronto.
Okay, and I guess they're all strategically located?
Yes, yeah,
To be close to any potential fire.
that's right.
Okay. If somebody makes a false alarm, are there some penalties associated with that?
Oh yeah, it's a criminal offense to pull a false alarm. If, depending how they prosecute you, if it's an indictable offense, I think it's up to 2 years in jail. If it's a summary offense, I think it's a fine up to $500 and up to 6 months in jail.
Boy.
It's very serious to pull a false alarm.
So people better think twice before doing that.
Yeah, you know, pull stations aren't toys. You know, there's lots of troubles. Fire trucks get involved in accidents proceeding to fires. They could get called to one area where there isn't a fire, and maybe just a few blocks away there really is a fire, in which case the dispatch will have to dispatch more trucks from a farther away area, and which, you know, will take obviously longer to get there.
So they could be putting somebody else in danger.
Yes, they
in the
could
case
very
of a real
easily.
fire.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of fee rendered for those services by the person who is actually calling the fire?
Oh no, it's all paid by your tax dollars.
Okay.
No one gets charged for the fire department coming to their home.
Okay. Does that differ at all in the United States? As far
No,
as
I
you
think
know?
it's the same in the United States.
Okay.
The same way.
Okay.
The reason for that is people might be discouraged of calling the fire department if they knew they had to pay for it and try to put out the fire themselves and cause themselves a lot of trouble. So there is no fee for that besides your tax dollars. It's just like the police department. It's your tax dollars.
Okay, getting back to my point before about fire prevention and for the average citizen, is there some way of getting some further information about that? And are there any programs in place to help people get familiar with some of those routines?
Yeah, if people want more information on fire prevention, they can call their local fire prevention department. In Toronto, the number is 392-7690.
Okay, okay. That's worthwhile knowing. So what would be the typical career path of a firefighter? You mentioned that for the first 4 years you're going through various steps of training and reaching eventually first class level. What happens after that?
Okay, once you reach first class, it's 15 years you put on the trucks, and then you can write for your captain's exam. You're eligible to write for a captain's exam. And then you're a captain for a minimum of 5 years, and then you're eligible to write for your district chief's exam. The next step after district chief is a platoon chief, and then you can go on to an assistant deputy chief and to the chief's job. Then there are also different departments. You could also go to the fire prevention department. You go to training department. You could go to technical services department. You know, there's all different ways you can go.
So there are several different options.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of, whatever your interests are.
So some people do end up specializing in one form or another?
Oh, yeah, even on the trucks, we have special trucks. We have a hazardous material truck. We have rescue squads. They all require different training. Even on the pumpers and air, that's special training for those trucks.
So the people who work the ladder truck or who work the pumper truck, they all have different training and they're in effect specialists in those
We all
trucks?
have basic training in everything,
Okay.
so that we're interchangeable in that sense. But there is special training on different trucks, how to use training specific to that truck. Like on the truck I'm on, we have auto extrication equipment, which a pumper wouldn't have, for example.
Okay.
And they have, obviously, hose, which we don't carry in our truck.
Right, right. Now, do you find that you end up working cooperatively with a lot of different organizations all the time?
Oh, yes. On most calls, it's a 3-tiered response with the fire, police, and ambulance. And each person has their job once they get on the scene, and we all work together very well.
Do you find that there's an area of overlap? Doesn't the fire department sometimes do first aid?
Well, that's because usually we're first on the scene, in which case then we do render basic first aid until the people from the ambulance get there. Then they take over that job.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, we're going to take a short break right now.
Okay.
When we return, we'll be back with Doug Trussler and speaking about firefighting. Welcome back to Careers. We're going to be taking a look at a videotape in a moment. Doug, maybe you can tell us a few words about what we're going to see.
Okay, we're going to see a clip from a film put out by the National Fire Protection Association called The Power of Fire. And basically what it shows you is a residential home and how fast fire spreads, and they'll give you some details on the temperatures and the smoke, and you'll see. It's a really good film.
Great. Okay, we're going to take a look at it right now.
A carelessly discarded cigarette is the cause of this fire, but home fires can start many ways. Space heaters, wood stoves, faulty electrical equipment, and cooking, among others. In most fires, there is a longer period of time from the appearance of smoke to actual flames. Remember, what you will see and hear was filmed as it actually happened. "30 seconds from first flame, the sofa ignites. From this point, fire grows rapidly. If you discover a fire, leave immediately and call the fire department from a neighbor's house." "1 minute, 4 seconds from first flame. Polyurethane cushioning from the couch starts to melt, spreading fire to the rug. Smoke begins to fill the room. "1 minute, 23 seconds. The stairway to upstairs still clear. Things look safe here in the kids' room, but downstairs the fire continues to accelerate. "1 minute, 35 seconds. The smoke layer in the living room descends rapidly. Gases flowing out of this room now exceed 190 degrees Fahrenheit. "1 minute, 47 seconds. Light smoke begins to move to the second floor. 1 minute, 50 seconds. The smoke detector at the foot of the stairs sounds an alarm, providing warning before exits are blocked. Take action immediately. Crawl low where the air is cleaner. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. The temperature above the couch is now 400 degrees Fahrenheit. That's over 200 degrees Celsius. 2 minutes, 48 seconds. Smoke pours into the dining room, now only 4 feet above the floor. Thick black smoke moves rapidly upstairs. 3 minutes, 3 seconds. Melted polyurethane burns under the couch. Suddenly, the lampshade ignites. The temperature 3 feet above the floor in this room is over 500 degrees Fahrenheit. No one could survive. 3 minutes, 20 seconds. The upstairs hall is beginning to fill with black acrid smoke, making escape more difficult. From the outside, there may be no evidence of the inferno inside. 3 minutes, 41 seconds. The energy in the room suddenly ignites everything. Within 1 minute, the temperature has risen to over 1,400 degrees. Flashover. The living room windows break out. The entire room fills with flames, forcing huge amounts of smoke and toxic gases throughout the house. Only 2 minutes after the smoke detector sounded, the lower hallway is dark and filled with smoke. The upstairs hall and stairs now impassable. A second escape route is your only way out. 4 minutes, 33 seconds. Only now are flames visible from outside the house.
Okay, thank you, Doug, for that video. It's nothing like a good video to spice up the show once in a while.
You're welcome, yeah.
What's the moral of the story behind that?
I guess basically to show how fast fire really spreads, even with a smoke alarm, you saw that you only had minutes to get out. And without a smoke alarm, you possibly could have been in the house when the fire.
Okay, it's a small price to pay for a smoke alarm.
$10 smoke alarm could save your life.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Are women being introduced into this job nowadays?
Oh yes, we're very active. We have a career awareness program, and we have firefighters going out to different community groups, to women's groups and visible minority groups, informing them of the opportunities in the fire department. Like a lot of people seem to think you have to be a certain height and weight and to be on the department, but that's not true. And so they're going out and actually informing these people what the real requirements are.
I see. Are there some specific affirmative action programs in place then to try and improve the balance of visible minorities and women in the force?
No, we don't have anything as such like really an affirmative action program. What we're going out is just going out and telling people, informing them that they can apply for the job. We think that will be sufficient. Then once they're aware of the job, we'll get more people applying.
Okay.
And then we'll be able to pick from there.
Do the firefighters have a union?
Yes, we do. It's Local 113 of the International Association of Firefighters.
As a firefighter, do you actually have the right to strike?
Legally, we do, but our association has it written in its constitution that we won't strike.
I see.
That's something that we've decided.
So negotiate.
Well, actually, I think it's just that we decided that, it's not right to strike. We're a service that's an essential service.
Do you have the right to refuse to work if you encountered a really dangerous situation?
No, almost every situation we encounter is a dangerous situation. We can't say, I'm not going into that fire, it looks dangerous. No, we can't refuse to work.
I guess that could mean your job if you did.
There could be action taken against you, yes. But you wouldn't be in this line of work if that kind of thing bothered you anyway.
Do they ever retire people? Is there mandatory retirement?
Yeah, 65 is a mandatory retirement.
Okay. And what about for medical reasons?
If you have severe medical problems and normally you just retire yourself, but through the administrative process they can call you to a medical board with 3 doctors, your own doctor, the department doctor, and an independent doctor. And if they felt that you couldn't perform the job, then they could force you off that way.
Okay. Let's try to picture an example for a second. Let's say there was a fire that where some PCBs were actually burning. That seems to be a hot issue nowadays. How would you go about handling that?
Well, we'd respond to the call, and the first apparatus would determine exactly if it was PCBs or if it was a chemical fire, what chemicals were involved. And then we'd go through either books that we have or called government agencies once we found out exactly what chemical we're dealing with, and they will tell us how to fight the fire, what level of protection to use, whether to use water, whether to use foam, or what to use.
So do they maintain some kind of a computer database?
Well, there's a large computer database in Ottawa, plus we have our own database.
Oh, great. Have you ever personally been involved in any dangerous situations?
Like I said, almost every fire there's a danger of some kind, a wall falling in or a ceiling collapsing on you or going through a floor. But you don't really think of that when you're fighting the fire.
Is there anyone that particularly sticks in the back of your mind right now?
I guess, well, when you're in a fire and you look down and you see the fire at the end of the hallway and then it starts moving down the walls and over your head and it's time to get out.
But the protection gear that you're actually wearing, does that thoroughly cover you?
It thoroughly covers you from head to toe, but it's not flame-proof. It's flame-resistant. All it is cloth, and then underneath it is a liner of rubber, and then more cloth just to keep you dry and protect you from the heat. It doesn't protect you from the flames.
But so you don't really feel the heat?
Well, you do feel the heat.
Yeah?
You do feel, but it protects you a lot that you don't feel if you didn't have it on.
Okay.
And you've got a self-contained breathing apparatus to protect you from the smoke and the elements. Yeah.
Well, isn't it really usually the smoke that kills people as opposed to the flames?
In most fires, it is the smoke that kills people before the flames.
Through suffocation?
Yeah, suffocation. There's different chemicals in smoke. One chemical makes you breathe a little faster, and there's carbon monoxide, which you're breathing in the carbon monoxide faster, and that will kill you.
Okay. Have you got any statistics to show us about some of the different types of fires that have been reported? Like you were mentioning
Actually,
earlier on.
I do have some statistics here. This is from our 1987 annual report.
Okay.
Okay. What exactly? Okay, the total fires last year in the city of Toronto, there's 3,896 fires. Of those, 2,263 were in buildings, 473 were in vehicles, and 1,160 were rubbish and grass fires.
That's amazing. So many fires.
Yeah, for the total fire loss is estimated at $16,813,203. So it's pretty staggering.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. We only have a couple of minutes left. You were mentioning to me earlier on that there is a Chief for the Day contest. What's that all about?
Okay, that's where we go around to all the schools and we try to encourage children to take home a fire escape plan and talk to them with their families, where they plan 2 ways out of each room. And once the children fill out that escape plan, they'll bring it back to school with an entry form. And they will have a draw at each school, and the winner at each school will receive a smoke alarm for their house and a fire department baseball cap.
Oh, great.
And then we take the winners from each of the schools and have one winner, which is a chief for a day. She'll come down to headquarters, meet the chief. You know, she has a helmet, a white helmet, says chief for a day on it, and she'll go for a tour of the department. They'll take her for a ride out in the fireboat. They'll take her down to communications and the Adelaide station, see the trucks. So,
Oh, do you have a boat as well?
yeah, we have a fireboat.
Okay. Do you get trained on that as part of your basic training?
Not part of basic training, no.
That'd be a
They-
specialization.
Yeah, they'll take you down and we'll get a tour of the fireboat and a basic explanation, but that training is mostly just for the crew.
Okay. Before we go, do you have any suggestions? If somebody wanted to find out more about a career as a firefighter, where would they phone?
Okay, in Toronto, the number again is 392-FIRE.
Okay.
Okay, very easy to remember.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Doug, for joining us on Careers.
Oh, thank you for having me here.
We'd like to make use of your ideas on this show. If you have any suggestions, please let me know by writing to me, Peter Wolfl, host, Careers, care of Graham Cable TV, 35 Scarlett Road, Toronto, Ontario, postal code M6N4J8. I'm Peter Wolfl, and from all of us here at the studio, good luck in your own career.